We're holding grudges on people who are living here in this moment, that have to make choices and go through interactions that no longer exist, that we have no idea about. None. It really makes you think. It really. Hi beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a quick video on reality shifts. And this came to me while I was in a meditation, and I really wanted to come here and share with you guys. One thing that I was thinking about when I woke up this morning is just how crazy it is that perceptions are so different, right? And when I went into my meditation, I set the intention that I wanted to understand why it is we all have such these super drastically different perceptions of the same exact things, right? For example, they have those pictures that go around on Instagram where you might look at it and it looks like a blue and black jacket, and someone else looks at it and it's green and purple, whatever, right? Like how, why, right? And as I was meditating on it, a lot of stuff was coming through for me. And one of the things that came through that really was profound, honestly, is that reality changes. It's not just our perception that changes, us the individual, how we see things. It's, ooh, and I'm just not realizing, looks like I spilled a little breakfast on my shirt, but you know what? I'm gonna keep it rolling because this is here for me to share with you right now. So it is what it is. Please excuse my breakfast. But it's not just our perception that changes as individuals, right? Like me, I might see something one way and you might see it another, but it's also the reality that changes. And what I mean by that is it's the reality in which we are in. So for example, my grandmother, who was born in 51, was born into an America where she could not go every place that other kids could go. There were certain laws and restrictions that she had to abide by. And taking it back a notch, right, let's say 100 years, we lived in a reality where people of my complexion and of my ancestry were not free to do anything of their own free will. Fast forward, not to get too heavy, fast forward to today, me being a Black woman, even though there are still a lot of limitations, there may be some discrimination and things of that nature, but I am physically able to go and do whatever the fuck I please. And I'm so grateful to those who came before me that sacrificed for me to be here today and to do those things. But people forget that shit was not that long ago at all, okay? And how privileged we are to be here. Another example that came through for me is the LGBTQ community. And I'm gonna be very careful with all of these topics because this could be a trigger for a lot of people, but I'm just gonna keep it real, right? You couldn't just be openly a part of the LGBTQ community. A lot of people had to hide their relationships. A lot of people had to enter into false marriages just so that they can feel protected and not targeted. A lot of people experience violence, death, discrimination of jobs based on their sexual orientation. We forget how easy we have it, dude. And it's not just our perception, because honestly there are so many things that can distract us and get us caught up, but we forget how much has changed, and it hasn't been that long ago, right? Another example that came through for me was technology. Right now I'm recording on my iPhone, which is pretty much a little computer. But if you're like me and you grew up back when the desktop computer had just come out and it was a thing. And in school, you had the computer lab, right? Or if you were to go to the library, there were computers. That shit was new. Okay, learning how to type and use your mouse and use those little websites to like get past the firewall so you can play games. That was what life was like. But now these kids go to school with computers in their fucking pockets. And I mean, they start in elementary school, iPads, things of this nature, information so easily available. And it creates this feeling of instant gratification that we never had. If there was something we needed to know, we had to ask, find somebody who knew, or hope and pray that we were able to find some blog or find some thread explaining the situation to us. It's just not as easy as, oh, let me Google this real quick. Do you guys remember Ask Jeeves? When Ask Jeeves was actually competing with Google? Does anybody, please put something down in the comments below if you remember Ask Jeeves. If you know, you know. But anyways, yeah, like it's just how easy is it for our realities to shift, and how long does it take for your perception to like equal up to your reality? There is like a disconnect, because I think sometimes we get caught up in our own worlds and our own perception and how we are living, that we forget that the reality that we see and that we're in can change in an instant and is so different than what it used to be. And then we get caught up in arguments with our parents of how they treat us and the things that they did wrong, and our friends and all these different things, right? Holding grudges from like 10, 20 years ago, when the reality in which they lived in was completely different than today. We're holding grudges. I guess for me, the thing that's actually a little bit nerve-wracking is, even though we have gone through a lot of reality changes, there are so many more to come. When I think about it, we're still in changing times. Like, even body, right? Like, I consider myself a big girl. Thick, right? Being thick is cute now. Now, of course, there are all these qualifications for what is thick and not that, and this not whatever, right? But just humor me for a second. 80s, 70s, 80s, skinny was in. Okay, and yeah, granted, you know, everybody likes a little booty, little titties. Back in the day, that was not cute. That was not it. You need to be a size 2. But now everybody's going to get their BBLs, they get their implants, being curvy, vivacious, big lips, all of that, that's in now. 20, 30 years ago, it was not. So people who grew up believing that they were fat, they were ugly, they were unattractive, are now living in a world where all of those things that they were belittled for are celebrated. Talk about a huge reality check. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Like, is it my perception that's off, or is it the reality? Sometimes it's the reality. So all of this, basically, I'm saying to say, sometimes we beat up on ourselves so much and we get so caught up in this idea that we aren't good enough, that we are incapable, that we can't enter into these doors or do these things, and we forget how much power we really hold in our perception. And we forget that a lot of the limitations that are being placed are not being placed by us on us, but they're being placed by our realities on us. And while some people think we don't have the power to change our reality, if we have the power to change our perception, then with our perception, we are able to change our realities. It took people believing that they were worthy enough for equality. It took people perceiving that they are worthy enough for love. It took a community and a collective of people perceiving that they are worthy enough to be beautiful. So much so that people chase after to get the assets period. Okay, it took someone perceiving a reality where technology has changed, where anything was possible, to create these tools that we use now. And so I just challenge you to remember, while we get so caught up in our perceptions and while we get so caught up in our realities, remember, we are powerful beings. And my meditation just reminded me how far we've come. And remembering that it wasn't that long ago. If people were able to change these things within their reality within 30 years, 100 years, whatever, and things are only getting better, stronger, faster, more advanced, what makes you think that you can't perceive a better reality and create it? You can. And so this video was just really to remind you where you came from. And if it wasn't you that came from there, your ancestors, your mama, your grandma, your great-grandma, and their great-grandmothers before them, the life that they lived was completely different than the life you lived. And because they believed they could change things, they did. And so I challenge you to remember, what reality are we living in, and where would you rather be? Check your perception. Control your own reality. It's possible. Together, we could create anything. All right, that's all I got for you today. I hope that is inspiring. I hope you remember how powerful you are, who you are. And I hope that you take this message, maybe meditate it on yourself, and figure out, what reality do you want to create? Be limitless. Evolve your current state. And thank you for watching. If you don't already, subscribe to this channel, because there are plenty of thoughtful rants where this came from. Go ahead and drop some star emojis down in the comments if this resonated with you, if you understand the power of perception and the power of changing your own reality. Drop them stars down in the comments. Like this video, of course. It helps it to be shared out for other people. And if you're new here, subscribe, baby. I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, peace.